They literally allowed this to happen.
How though?
How? But
How are they so scared when things like when you start doing this to kids? Who is not at the top? A prime minister, the royal family, the most powerful people. Who is not sitting there saying we can't tolerate this?
No, not just can't tolerate it. They celebrated everyone who covered it up. Not just, and that goes to the rule. So when all this blew up, 2015, people are realizing, oh my God, everything we were saying was right. So remember, we were attacked.
Can you do me a favor? Can you play the clip of Tommy with Jeremy Paxman? Is this you? This is a 1 minute clip. Yeah. Play this clip. Go. And this is how long ago? 15 years ago?
15 years ago.
15 years ago. Go for it.
His head. I mean, do you understand that people are frightened by that kind of thing, and they're frightened by the possibility of this demonstration?
We're frightened by Nissan. We're frightened by Shawalo. The leader of the Luke Castle Mosque, the leader of the Loon Capital,
She's worried by what you set off.
The leader of the Loon Council Mosque, who is in charge of 19 mosques in our town, called for Sharia law for the Islamic community in our town. That frightens me. That frightens me.
And you're not frightened by what the prospect of a lot of young men swaggering around a town, chanting about doing panties and the rest of it.
Genuine causes. We've got genuine grievances. Ours is a righteous cause. All
right.
It is. So
okay.
we are, but I am worried.
Right.
I am worried, and many people across towns are
Right. A lot of people are worried. I believe you.
Right. Most of the newspapers tomorrow morning go with the news storm. Not surprising.
That in this interview where we just talk about the rape gangs, where and he looks at me like I'm an idiot.
Who's he known in your country? How big is he?
He was
at the
biggest.
time. He was the biggest.
He was the biggest.
So he was like the Anderson Cooper of CNN at that time.
He was and you know what I said to him? I said to him in there. I said, Jeremy, let me ask you. Do you know anyone who's been raped by a Pakistani Muslim gang? Do you know anyone who's been murdered by a Pakistani Muslim gang? Do you know any girls who've been taken and now converted and not allowed to speak to their family at the hands of a Muslim gang? Do you know anyone hooked on heroin sold to them by a Muslim gang? I said, you don't know anyone, do you? We do. So when these girls are getting raped, whose daughters do you think they are? They're ours in towns like Luton. I said, so I expect you to understand, but I do expect you to listen. I do expect you to listen, because that's what's happening in every town and city. And you see, if they would have listened then. I also give a presentation at Oxford University. And when I was doing this, remember I was just getting deemed as racist, extremist, far right. That was all the accusations.
You're 26 years old here.
Yeah, I was young. And I was in the deep end, to be honest. And remember, when I was never political, I didn't care about politics. And the problem is most working class don't, okay? Most people don't care about politics. We're not political. The Islamic ideology is very political. We're not involved in politics. But I didn't care about it. But then once I saw what was happening and I realised it across the country, we started giving a voice to it. And you know, when I started this in 2009, this is Yorkshire Police. So the main area for these gangs was in Yorkshire. I go to the airport. I'm at Luton Airport. I get arrested by Special Branch. Okay. As they arrest me, they say for a criminal damage. So I get taken to the police station. As I'm in the police station, they say, we're now raiding properties linked to you. I said, what? They went into my mum's with machine guns. They went into where my babies were, my wife, with machine guns. They ransacked the houses. And then when it comes to bailing me, what I find out is, you know, on a hotel room door, there's the little bit of metal that connects the door.
Mm-hmm.
They arrested me for £30, $40, criminal damage on a door that they said I stayed in Sheffield, actually, yeah? And I did stay in that hotel, and they know I stayed in that hotel because after we'd done a demonstration in Blackpool, we'd been in Blackpool, and there was a young girl who had been kidnapped, and they chopped her up in kebab meat. Yeah? Google this case, Google Charlene Downs. She was kidnapped. The police put listening devices in the Muslim takeaway. When the mother went to ask where her daughter was, because she always hung around this Muslim takeaway, they gave her a free kebab. Yeah. What we then find out from the listening, yeah, that's her. I've met her mum. What we then find out from the listening devices is the Muslims are saying her bones went in as well. They're talking about it on the recording devices, but it was illegal. The way the police done it, it was illegal. So the Muslims get off. They just changed the name of their takeaway. They're still running the same takeaway. She's dead. But these sort of things weren't making national news. These sort of things are going on across the whole country. But it had been silenced. Everyone was so scared. So fast forward, the report come out. When the report come out in Rotherham, and again, you're asking the important questions. Why? Why did no one do anything? And I ask these questions. But for asking these questions, that's why they want to shut you down. So why did no one do anything? And it wasn't just Rotherham. Then we had reports come out of Telford. We then had reports come out of Manchester. So then before you know it, there's 55 cities where there's been convictions of these men. And so people understand the scale of the problem. Pakistani men make up about 2 or 3% of the UK population. They're responsible for 90% of the convictions of these rape gangs. Pakistani men, Muslim men. 90% of the convictions. 30% of the men convicted in these crimes' names are Mohammed. Why? How come it's not the Sikhs? The Jews aren't doing it. The Hindus aren't doing it. No one else is doing it. In fact, not only are they not doing it, but they're also victims of these gangs. Now, I don't want for 1 minute anyone to think I'm saying every Muslim's involved in this. I grew up in Luton Town. Some of the best people I met growing up are Muslim lads. Yeah, that doesn't deter from this massive problem we've got. Why do they think this way? Why is it facilitated? Why is it being hidden within the community? And why will no one tackle it? But when I started first talking in 2009, this is to understand that, remember, police forces have allowed it to happen. So if you're the head of the police in Rotherham, who's now in charge of counter-terrorism, the head officer who was in charge of Rotherham at the time of this rape gang scandal, who knew it was happening, yeah, Yorkshire Police, I'm in Luton, that's a 3 or 4 hour drive. Who arrested me at the airport when I was arrested by Special Branch for this hotel? 30 officers from Yorkshire come down. When they bailed me, they give me conditions, which I'm still getting now. My bail conditions, remember, it's silent. No one knows what's going on. Then comes this group coming out of Luton Town. Here come these working class men on the streets of every town and city. Who's organising it? Tommy Robinson. Where's their next city? We chose Bradford, which was where all these gangs are. And we're coming to highlight the grooming issue. So I get arrested by Special Branch. I then get released on bail. I'm not allowed to send emails. They ban me from sending emails or go straight to jail. I'm not allowed to be in a group of 2 or more English Defence League supporters. And my bail date, I have to answer bail, is the same date that our demonstration's on. I then put in a complaint through the IPCC, the Independent Police Complaints Commission. And I've got all the paperwork for this. I put the complaint in saying, look, I believe you arrested me on this date on a fabricated charge. We find out in the investigation it was fabricated. The manager of a hotel said, I've never done anything. Yeah. So they fabricated a charge in order to come down in a big police raid. And most of this is about pressure as well, to dawn raid my house. When I first started this activism, my mum was crying, my wife was crying, my whole family were crying. They're all telling me, stop, Stephen, stop, stop, stop. And in those first 6 months, I had 3 dawn raids like this, where I was come in my house. So they were still trying to put it back in and hide it. Then we carried on for 2 years. We carried on highlighting these issues. In 2015, when the Rotherham scandal broke, people realised he was telling the truth. So that's why all these interviews I've done, they're like, well, he was right.
My name's Tommy Robinson. I'm a citizen journalist. And for my work, I've become an enemy of the British state. I've humiliated them and embarrassed them with my content. I've exposed the Islamic rape gangs, which they successfully hid for almost 30 years. My work many times has landed me in prison. In the last 15 years, I've learned a lot about how the media work, about how the government work, the judiciary works. I've made many documentaries. If you would like to connect directly with me, you can do so now via their app, Minute.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.